while three of the greatest surgeons in Chicago bent over him. At their command, McLean picked up the unwilling Angel and carried her to the nurses to be bathed, have her bruises attended, and to be put to bed. In a place where it is difficult to surprise people, they were astonished women as they removed the Angel's dainty, stained, and torn clothing, drew off hose muck-baked to her limbs, soaked the dried loam from her silken hair, and washed the beautiful, scratched, bruised, dirt-covered body. The Angel fell fast asleep long before they had finished, and lay deeply unconscious while the fight for Freckles' life was being waged. 3 days later she was the same Angel as of old, except that Freckles was constantly in her thoughts. The anxiety and responsibility that she felt for his condition had bred in her a touch of womanliness and authority that was new. That morning she arose early and hovered near Freckles' door. She had been allowed to remain with him constantly, for the nurses and surgeons had learned, with his returning consciousness, that for her alone would the active, highly strung, pain-racked sufferer be quiet and obey orders. When she was dropping from loss of sleep, the threat that she would fall ill had to be used to send her to bed. Then, by telling Freckles that the Angel was asleep and they would awaken her the moment he moved, they were able to control him for a short time. The surgeon was with Freckles. The Angel had been told that the word he brought that morning would be final, so she curled in a window seat, dropped the curtains behind her, and in dire anxiety waited the opening of the door. Just as it unclosed, McLean came hurrying down the hall and to the surgeon, but with one glance at his face he stepped back in dismay, while the Angel who had arisen sank to the seat again, too dazed to come forward. The men faced each other. The Angel, with parted lips and frightened eyes, bent forward in tense anxiety. I thought he was doing nicely," faltered McLean. "He bore the operation well," said the surgeon, "and his wounds are not necessarily fatal. I told you that yesterday, but I did not tell you that something else will probably kill him, and it will. He need not die from the accident, but he will not live the day out." "But why? What is it?" asked McLean hurriedly. "We all dearly love the boy. We have millions among us to do anything that money can accomplish. Why must he die if those broken bones are not the cause?" "That is what I am going to give you the opportunity to tell me," replied the surgeon. "He need not die from the accident, yet he is dying as fast as his splendid physical condition will permit, and it is because he so evidently prefers death to life. If he were full of hope and ambition to live, my work would be easy. If all of you love him as you prove you do, and there is unlimited means to give him anything he wants, why should he desire death?" "Is he dying?" demanded McLean. "He is," said the surgeon. "He will not live this day out unless some strong reaction sets in at once. He is so low that, preferring death to life, nature cannot overcome his inertia. If he is to live, he must be made to desire life. Now he undoubtedly wishes for death, and that it come quickly." "Then he must die," said McLean. His broad shoulders shook convulsively. His strong hands opened and closed mechanically. "Does that mean that you know what he desires and cannot or will not supply it?" McLean groaned in misery. "It means," he said desperately, "that I know what he wants, but it is as far removed from my power to help him as it would be to give him a star. The thing for which he will die he can never have." "Then you must prepare for the end very shortly," said the surgeon, turning abruptly away. McLean caught his arm roughly. "You look here!" he cried in desperation. You say that as if I could do something if I would. I tell you the boy is dear to me past expression. I would do anything, spend any sum. You have noticed and repeatedly commented on the young girl with me. It is that child that he wants. He worships her to adoration, and knowing he can never be anything to her, he prefers death to life. In God's name, what can I do about it?" "Barring that missing hand, I've never examined a finer man," said the surgeon. "And she seems perfectly devoted to him. Why cannot he have her?" "Why?" echoed McLean. "Why? Well, for many reasons. I told you he was my son. You probably knew that he was not. A little over a year ago I never had seen him. He joined one of my lumber gangs from the road. He's a stray, left at one of your homes for the friendless here in Chicago. When he grew up, the superintendent bound him to a brutal man. He ran away and landed in one of my lumber camps. He has no name or knowledge of legal birth. The Angel, we have talked of her. You see what she is, physically and mentally. She has ancestors reaching back to Plymouth Rock and across the sea for generations before that. She's an idolized, petted only child, and there is great wealth. Life holds everything for her, nothing for him. He sees it more plainly than anyone else could. There is nothing for the boy but death, if it is the Angel that's required to save him." The Angel stood between them. "Well, I just guess not!" she cried. "If Freckles wants me, all he has to do is say so, and he can have me." The amazed men stepped back, staring at her. "That he will never say," said McLean at last. "And you don't understand, Angel. I don't know how you came here. I wouldn't have had you hear that for the world. But since you have, dear girl, you must be told that it isn't your friendship or your kindness that Freckles wants. It is your love." The Angel looked straight into the great surgeon's eyes with her clear, steady orbs of blue, and then into McLean's with unwavering frankness. "Well, I do love him," she said simply. McLean's arms dropped helplessly. "You don't understand," he reiterated patiently. "It isn't the love of a friend or a comrade or a sister that Freckles wants from you. It is the love of a sweetheart. And if to save the life he has offered for you, you are thinking of being generous and impulsive enough to sacrifice your future, in the absence of your father it'll become my plain duty as the protector in whose hands he has placed you to prevent such rashness. The very words you speak and the manner in which you say them prove you are a mere child and have not dreamed what love is." Then the Angel grew splendid. A rosy flush swept the pallor of fear from her face. Her big eyes widened and dilated with intense lights. She seemed to leap to the height and dignity of superb womanhood before their wondering gaze. "I never have had to dream of love," she said proudly. "I never have known anything else in all my life but to love everyone and to have everyone love me. And there never has been anyone so dear as Freckles. If you will remember, we have been through a good deal together. I do love Freckles, just as I say I do. I don't know anything about the love of sweethearts, but I love him with all the love in my heart, and I think that will satisfy him." "Surely it should," muttered the man of knives and lancets. McLean reached out to take hold of the Angel, but she saw the movement and swiftly stepped back. "As for my father," she continued, "he at once told me what he learned from you about Freckles. I've known all you know for several weeks. That knowledge didn't change your love for him one particle. I think the Bird Woman loved him more. Why should you two have all the fine perceptions there are? Can't I see how brave, trustworthy, and splendid he is? Can't I see how his soul vibrates with his music, his love of beautiful things, and the pangs of loneliness and heart hunger? Must you two love him with all the love there is, and I give him none? My father is never unreasonable. He won't expect me not to love Freckles. or not to tell him so, if the telling will